Good morning. We're going to just touch on the two concluding verses in chapter 7 because they kind of give not a summary of the Sermon on the Mount, but can I say the reason why you should adhere to the Sermon on the Mount and the reason why you should listen to Jesus. So let me read verse 28-29, and we'll talk about an aspect of this morning. And when Jesus had finished these sayings, that's all the Sermon on the Mount, the crowds were astonished at his teaching. Now we might ask why they were astonished. And I would submit to you that they were astonished because Jesus taught the best information on the most important subjects of human life, and they were blown away. They were astonished at his teaching, and then you get this explanation. For he was teaching them as one who had authority. It was because he was giving them the best information on the most important topics that they arrived at the conclusion, wait a minute, he knows what he's talking about. For he was teaching them as one who had authority and not as their scribes. So the contrast. The scribes weren't giving them the best information on the most important topics. Instead, what they were teaching them were control mechanisms and expansions of the law. And those pieces they were beginning to sniff out didn't quite seem to map on to what God intended in the heart of the law. But Jesus taught as one who had authority. So here's a question I want you to think about. When we think about something like the Sermon on the Mount, and this goes for just studying the scriptures in general, who is it that gets to say? Who is it that gets to say? And we have to think deeply about this because we have different bodies of knowledge at work in our life. Like when I go to the doctor, am I understanding that the doctor comes to that room with a different body of knowledge than I come? When I go to the mechanic, do I understand the mechanic comes to that garage with a different body of knowledge than I come with? If I came with the same body of knowledge, I would just fix my own car. I would just fix my own body in that way. But I'm seeking a body of knowledge because I'm assuming that there's a kind of authoritative aspect to what it is that they know and how they go about arriving at the particular conclusion and sifting and curating the best information. So here are some possible answers for who gets to say in your life when it comes to direction and ethics and spirituality, morality, decisions that you make. The first one is you. So that's the most popular one, where namely, I'm autonomous. I have ultimate authority over my own life, and so I get to say, and I am my own boss in that way. Another option would be other people, and sometimes we get intimidated by others, and we submit to others in ways that we're just giving into the impressions and the dictates and the opinions and the legislation of the masses. We're bullied in that way, maybe, or maybe not even bullied. We're just acquiescent. Sometimes a religious leader in particular, like that happens like in cults where you're just following somebody mindlessly in some ways. Or you could say Jesus. And my submission to you is that you're not the one who gets to say for your own life ultimately, and that others aren't the ones who get to say, and that some cult leader doesn't get to say, but that Jesus gets to say. Listen to 1 Corinthians 4:16 and 17. Paul writes, "Therefore I urge you to imitate me. For this reason I am sending to you Timothy, my son, whom I love, who is faithful in the Lord. He will remind you of my way of life in Christ Jesus, which agrees with what I teach everywhere in every church." Paul puts his own life up and says, imitate me, but he does that in a way where he's basically saying, insofar as what I say maps on, matches, is consistent with the way of Jesus, right? This is important. So you don't you wouldn't follow me because of me. You would only listen to this teaching insofar as it matched what Jesus said. Because Jesus, God the Son infleshed, is our great teacher, our great prophet, our great priest, our great king. And so one of the things we learn from these verses at the conclusion of the Sermon on the Mount is he gets to say, not us. May the Lord bless you.